This film did not get a Best Picture nomination, although many people tended to think that it should have, including The Dark Knight. So next year, in 2009, they announced that they were going to expand the Best Picture category to not just 5 films, but 10 films. Do you know what one of those films were that was nominated for Best Picture in 2009?
Up.
Up.
Now we get to where Skits kind of left the Pixar community, except for Toy Story 3.
Rightfully so. And that was also nominated for Best Picture at the Academy Awards. For the right reasons. So, anyway.
Well, yeah. Here, Up is good. It seems like there's a lot of memeing and nostalgia for it. Especially, I think people a few years younger than us, I think, watched it when they were the age I was when I watched Cars, if that makes sense. It seems like there's a lot of hype around it. Which
there is some. However, there's also almost an equal amount of disdain for this film.
It's also kind of sad, isn't it? Where the guy loses his wife and all that.
We'll get to it, but
at least there's no unalivings, but
Well, not in that sense. It's more of a death, but not that type of death. Anyway, so many people are kind of split on this film. Like, oh, this film got nominated for Best Picture? What the heck? So, after the first 10 minutes, it doesn't really get up to that amount of quality. It kind of peaked in the first 10 minutes. The first 10 minutes, the first 15 minutes or whatever, that's, the saddest part of the film. And I guess I'll dive into the plot of this film. So basically, Carl and Ellie, they are adventurers, they're kids, they want to explore the world, they live in 1940s or something, I don't know, very early 1900s, I don't know, anyway, 1930s, 40s, something like that, anyway, so
early 20th century, first half,
whatever, anyway, they grow up, they get married, you see their entire lives put out before you, right? The fact that tearing up just thinking about it, kind folks. It's that touching. It's that if they just released this first 15 minutes as a short film or something, they would have won most of the Academy Awards. Okay, that it was that good.
And then it kind of ooched.
Yeah, so
a little bit. It didn't suck.
In shorts, they go through their lives. They don't have kids. Ellie dies, and Carl's just there, retired and alone in his house.
Large nose. A very big Pixar nose.
Oh, yes. Anyway, though. So, yeah, Carl, he's an old man living in the city with his house, trying to hold out as long as he can, but he, I guess he strikes a guy, and he strikes a guy, and he is sued, and he has to go into a nursing home and depart from his house, and of course the big corporate overlords have to take his house.
Toilet.
Yep, but the good news is that he built up a lot of balloons and helium from his time working at a zoo as a balloon handout person or something. So he inflates all of his balloons, lifts his house up off the air, tying all the balloons to the fire pit, which Let me tell you, kind folks, that
Clever. Don't think it would work.
It would clever. Not work if you tied a lot of balloons, unless that fire. It's like the thing that holds the logs. The thing that holds the logs in place in your fireplace, you know? Like if you tied all the balloons to that one thing, that thing would come out. That thing is not, you would not lift your entire house up, okay? That is a crime against physics.
Crime against physics.
Yeah, it is a crime. It's a crime against physics. But anyway, a movie's got a movie, you know? But anyway.
Oh, yes.
Basically, the whole film is about him trying to do his adventure stuff that he's been dreaming about since kidhood. Russell's there. He was like a Boy Scout, wilderness explorer.
Yeah, where does he come in?
What?
How does he get involved?
So he's like, he needs a badge, and he goes up to Carl's house and is like, hey, can I help you out? And he's like, no. Then he tries to find the snipe, which is a fictional, you know, thing, if you will. And he's looking for the snipe, still looking for the snipe. And then when his house goes up, he's, you know, underneath the house, but he grabs onto the house, you know, as the house is lifting up, and he's stuck there now. So he goes up to his, you know, deck and all that, and he's like, Mr. Fredrickson, I found the snipe. Please let me in. No. Oh, alright, you can... The best joke of the whole film, let me tell you. Anyway. Then they fall down to South America, because they're in South America now, apparently. After losing their... After being a storm and all that. And they find out, oh yes, they're in South America. They're in the giant mountains and all that. The giant tabletop mountains of the Andes, I guess. Andes Mountains. And so they got to go to Paradise Falls, which they are at. And they have to walk there. And somehow he's got to get Carl back. But along the way, they find a talking dog named Doug. Best part of the film. They find Kevin, a giant bird, if you will, a giant ostrich bird.
Boneless the bird.
Boneless the bird, indeed. And then they find out, oh, Doug's friends are trying to find this bird for some reason. And then they get kind of trapped by the adventurer that Carl finds, that Carl, you know, idolized as a kid and all that. Apparently he's still alive somehow, and... Turns out that, yes, he is the villain, and he's going to destroy the house because that's what Carl likes, and he wants the bird, and he will get the bird no matter what to rejuvenate his career and all that, I guess. But I guess they go over, and they decide to go to Paradise Falls still, and they go there, and Kevin's like... Kevin tries to go there, but the bad guy shows up again. He destroys the house to the point of that the house is like almost at the point of popping, I guess. And then he gets even more angry. He disassociates himself with Doug and Kevin. And the only reason he lets Russell come along is because he's a kid and he, you know, human decency, I guess. So he's gonna bring him over to Paradise Falls, and he does. The end, right? But no, turns out the thing that kind of drove him to Paradise Falls was Ellie, right? And all along she had a scrapbook of all the adventures that she's gonna have as a kid or as an adult when she grew up from a kid, right? But then he was like, oh, this never was, you know, never was filled out or whatever. But turns out, oh yeah, it actually was filled out. It was filled out to the brim with all their adventures, because life is an adventure, and that's the point of the whole movie. And it made you cry because it's that sad. And yes, it is that sad.
And I didn't watch it, but it is that sad.
Oh yes, it is. So then Carl's like, he has to basically rid himself of Ellie and has to go on his own adventure because Ellie like says, thanks for the adventure, now go and have your adventure. And it's like, oh. So he kicks out all the stuff that he had in his house to go back and get Russell because Russell went up to try to get Kevin. So they all have an adventure up there, and there's a lot of old jokes and it's funny, and a bunch of other stuff, and they become victorious. Kevin gets back. They take over the blimp. Or the Zeppelin, the Led Zeppelin or whatever that the old guy had. Not Carl, but the other old guy had. Kills him, I guess. And the house falls down, never to be seen again by Carl.
Oops.
So then they travel home with all the dogs and Doug and all that stuff. They leave Kevin with his kids and all that. With her kids and all that, because she's a girl, so there you go. And travel back home, and turns out Russell's dad is nowhere to be seen for his pinning ceremony, for his, Russell's badge thing, whatever. And Carl's there as his pseudo father figure, which is, again, very sad, and hence the reason why... The reason why this film was nominated for Best Picture is because it made all the old people... sympathize with Carl and cry, so there you go. And that's the end. And at the very end, we find out that the house did land at Paradise Falls, but Carl has no idea. And that's it. That's the end. All in all, a fairly decent film. However, not Best Picture worthy, let me tell you, okay?
No. Nope.
I think WALL-E was better than this film.
By far and large.
What?
By far and large.
Personally, I think that it's a very uneven film. The highs, the stuff that works in this film really, really works. However, the stuff that doesn't really, really doesn't.
Yeah.
Anyway, though, son, do you have anything to say about Up?
No, not really. I just know it has a cultural significance. And there was a video game.
Of course there is. There's gonna be video games.
That's all I can tell you.
There's gonna be video games of these films until like probably Brave.
Even after that, probably.
Don't think so. Was there in whatever. Anyway, this film for me gets the same not the same rating, probably more like an 8 out of 10 probably. Let me see what I can put on Letterboxd. Just slightly above Cars in my opinion, mainly because again, stuff that works in this film really really works. It's a 4 star, so it is an 8 out of 10. But yeah.
What?
The stuff that works in this film really, really does work. It's just the stuff that doesn't really, really doesn't. But anyway, I don't know if you can rate it because I don't know if you've seen it, right?
No, but it ain't above Cars. That is for plopping sure.
I mean, it's a 10 out of 10 for skits. I mean, kind of folks.
I mean, how dare you